Starlink, the satellite internet project by SpaceX, is back in the spotlight, this time for light pollution. Astronomers worldwide have raised concerns over how Starlink satellites brighten the night sky unnaturally. Since its launch, Starlink has sent over 6,000 satellites into low Earth orbit, crowding the atmosphere. These satellites reflect sunlight, causing streaks that interfere with astronomical observations from Earth-based telescopes. Researchers from the IAU, International Astronomical Union, have called the issue an escalating global emergency. In Chile, home to world-class observatories, scientists report increasing difficulty in photographing distant galaxies. The problem lies not just in visibility. Starlink's growing satellite network disrupts sensitive light-based measurements. Starlink satellites orbit low and fast, often creating bright trails across long-exposure telescope images. Even amateur astronomers report frequent satellite passes, interrupting once clear views of stars and planets. The issue worsens during twilight, when the satellites reflect more sunlight due to their orbital angle. While SpaceX claims it's working to dim satellites, many say the efforts fall short of being effective. DarkSat, an earlier solution with anti-reflective coating, failed to sufficiently reduce brightness in practical conditions. Scientists say brightness levels remain over the IAU's acceptable limit for astronomical interference. SpaceX later introduced VisorSat, featuring sun visors to block light, but these too haven't solved everything. Ground-based astronomers still encounter streaked images, especially during Starlink's initial deployment phase after launch. Some researchers suggest regulating launch frequency until better dark sky mitigation techniques are developed and proven. Environmentalists have joined the outcry, emphasizing the importance of preserving natural night skies for wildlife. Nocturnal species rely on natural darkness for navigation, reproduction, and predator avoidance. Artificial night lighting, even from orbit, can disorient birds, turtles, and insects during critical life stages. A 2023 study in Science found that increased nighttime sky brightness disrupts migratory birds' internal compasses. This means Starlink's impacts stretch beyond astronomy. They're also affecting global ecosystems in subtle ways. The Starlink constellation isn't alone. OneWeb, Amazon's Kuiper, and others are launching similar mega-constellations. By 2030, more than 100,000 active satellites could orbit Earth if current trends continue unchecked. Scientists warn that without coordinated policy, light pollution from space could grow exponentially every year. Some countries are already proposing satellite regulations, including maximum reflectivity limits and dark sky certifications. The United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOOSA, is exploring ways to create global light pollution guidelines. However, current space law, like the Outer Space Treaty, lacks specific language around nighttime brightness and pollution. That legal gray area allows companies to launch satellites without global environmental oversight or mitigation plans. SpaceX maintains that providing internet access to remote areas justifies the satellite network's rapid expansion. They argue that increased global connectivity outweighs the inconvenience posed to niche observational sciences. However, many astronomers disagree, saying science shouldn't be sidelined for profit-driven technological growth. Satellite trails ruin not only images, but also long-term sky surveys crucial for tracking near-Earth objects. Detecting asteroids early depends on uninterrupted views of the sky, a capability now being compromised. Light pollution can mask faint asteroids that might otherwise trigger early warning planetary defense systems. In 2022, an asteroid detection project in Hawaii lost valuable data due to multiple Starlink streaks. This raised alarms within NASA, prompting internal discussions about satellite interference with space hazard monitoring. Even the James Webb Space Telescope, operating beyond Earth's orbit, can be indirectly affected by satellite interference. Reflected light from Earth-based satellites can contaminate calibration efforts and deep field measurements. SpaceX insists it's cooperating with the astronomical community, but cooperation doesn't equal resolution. The American Astronomical Society, AAS, says dialogue must evolve into enforceable commitments and measurable changes. Some experts propose creating no-fly orbital zones over key observatories to protect sensitive research. Others suggest that satellites be placed in higher orbits, where reflectivity is naturally less intrusive to Earth observers. SpaceX has stated that future Starlink models will include more advanced visors and coating materials. But researchers want transparency and peer-reviewed data on those design changes, not marketing assurances. The rise of commercial space activity has outpaced traditional environmental review and impact assessment frameworks. Satellite launches now happen monthly, with little input from ecological experts or astronomers. Groups like the Dark Sky Association are calling for an international environmental impact protocol for orbiting hardware. Unlike terrestrial infrastructure, satellites can't easily be modified after launch if problems are discovered. This makes pre-launch testing and light modeling essential, yet few regulations mandate those requirements today. While internet access is vital, critics argue it shouldn't come at the expense of environmental health. Indigenous communities, astronomers and conservationists have united in demanding more balanced technological development. The night sky holds deep cultural and spiritual meaning for many indigenous groups worldwide. Bright satellite trails obscure constellations that form the backbone of indigenous lore, stories and calendars. Losing access to a clear sky also means losing a cultural bridge passed down for generations. In 2021, native Hawaiian leaders protested satellite launches that impacted visibility over sacred observatories. The debate now touches science, culture, ecology, and ethics, all colliding in Earth's shared orbital space. The IAU recently launched the Center for the Protection of the Dark and Quiet Sky. Its mission is to coordinate global strategies to reduce satellite interference with astronomy and ecology. Meanwhile, more satellite launches are scheduled, with thousands more Starlink units awaiting deployment. The clock is ticking, and light pollution is no longer limited to streetlights and skyscrapers. It's orbiting above us, fast, bright, and growing more frequent with every launch window opened. Long-exposure photography, once revealing galaxies millions of light-years away, now reveals man-made streaks across the stars. The Hubble Space Telescope itself has recorded multiple Starlink interference events in recent years. Unlike other pollution types, light pollution leaves no residue, but its damage is real and growing. The human eye can't always see the difference, but sensors and telescopes certainly can. The night sky we inherit today may look very different for generations observing it tomorrow. Many wonder if we'll still see the Milky Way in 50 years, or just lines of blinking lights. Artists, poets, and stargazers fear a future where stars fade beneath a grid of corporate hardware. Protecting dark skies is now being framed as a right, like clean air and fresh water. Educational groups advocate for children to experience the stars, not digital satellites, during backyard skywatching events. Light pollution also affects human circadian rhythms, disrupting sleep and overall health patterns globally. Cities already face this issue with artificial lighting. Now satellites add a second layer of brightness above. SpaceX's rapid innovation, while impressive, lacks equally rapid accountability for its broader environmental consequences. The Federal Communications Commission, FCC, approved many launches without a public environmental review. Lawsuits have since emerged demanding stricter oversight before orbital expansion continues unchecked. Astronomers argue that environmental review shouldn't end at Earth's atmosphere. It should extend into space. There's growing pressure on the FCC, NASA, and NOAA to reevaluate how satellite networks are greenlit. International astronomers say the US must lead by example in regulating corporate space activities responsibly. Europe is considering mandatory satellite reflectivity standards to protect its dark sky reserves. If adopted, these rules could influence how future US-based companies design and launch orbital hardware. Meanwhile, satellite visibility apps show a steady increase in Starlink sightings across North America and Europe. Some viewers mistake the passing satellites for UFOs, meteor showers, or experimental aircraft. This confusion shows how dramatically Starlink has altered our visual relationship with the night sky. To date, most mitigation discussions remain voluntary, with no binding agreements on satellite brightness standards. The longer this goes unregulated, the harder it becomes to reverse the visual damage done to the sky. Like climate change, the effects compound. Each satellite adds slightly more light, spreading globally over time. Calls are growing louder for an orbital equivalent of the Paris Agreement, before the sky is too crowded. Global space agencies agree. It's time for a coordinated, enforceable plan for preserving dark skies worldwide. Without one, private companies will likely continue launching satellites with minimal ecological transparency. As the space race heats up again, we must ask, at what cost are we connecting the world?